I put the cone out here because that's the way I want you to ride the track. You know, I don't, if we pull putt and race to the inside of this cone, now I'm forced to try to steer the bike. If I carry any speed, I'm gonna be out here, right? So the track should be shaped this way. This is the area where I'm controlling the bike to a stop. This is my direction change. And then, good job, chewing up the grass on the exit. That's exactly what we want. Now Luca has a tendency to hammer the throttle off the exits. And this is what's gonna happen. But dude, you really made a huge change just by me saying leave the throttle closed. Yeah. And your lap times got better and better. And it doesn't mean you're not gonna revert back to your old habits. Yeah. Okay, and that's okay, but we want to learn that this doesn't work.
Yeah, the corner speed is actually a lot slower than you think.
Yeah, thanks. It is. If we do it right, we have the throttle closed for for longer than we think. This is the patience game. Keep the throttle closed. Again, if I get impatient, I wake the bike up with the throttle and the thing starts chasing. It's even more so on the road racer. The road racer, you have to be extremely patient.
Slow in, fast out.
It's fast in and fast out.
Sure.
And slow to the middle.
Yeah.
And so if I can...
The neutral time is a little bit longer, it seems like.
Yes, that's it. So if I can be the fastest rider on the straightaways, which is, when I pick up, hopefully my straightaway begins right about here, and we saw that out of a lot of you guys, so good job. That's where I want my straightaway to begin. Then my straightaway becomes really long, and then my braking zone is also part of my straightaway because I'm pretty straight up and down, so I can really get the bike to bite down and stop effectively. Everything that I'm doing to keep the bike on top of the tires where I'm making time, every time I'm down here, I'm losing time. But if I can make that time very short and compress it, then I will be making time everywhere else.
It just seems that if you make the track wider, it just seems like you'd be on the throttle longer, thus maybe you're faster, but is that not the case?
It's not the case. If you're on a Moto 3 bike that makes 100 horsepower or whatever, yeah, you're gonna be on the gas a lot more than if you're on a 240 horsepower motorcycle.
Yeah.
But you still have to get used to this idea of completing direction change at 0% throttle. So yeah, you ride a different class of motorcycle differently, but even then you have to learn this to be fast on a Ninja 250. It's just going to be more obvious when you're on a 1000. You're going to get bigger gains because the straightaways become. Well, the straightaway starts much sooner on a 250 than it does a 1000.
Sure.
Because they run out of power so early. I need to get with Jimmy and figure out what we're going to do next. I really like the idea of separating tracks so that we can continue to move forward with a faster group and have growth over there too. Because we're about done. We're about done here. I think everyone's really got this. So what I was gonna ask is maybe we'll do the same thing going left, and remember I'm gonna put the cones correct. Remember that we want to get the bike changed at direction change at 0% throttle. So we're gonna control the speed with the brakes on the way in, and really get that pivot to happen with load in the chassis and load on the tire. And what I mean by that is if we're going down the straightaway, we have no load in the chassis, no load on the tire, and we have no feeling. There's no load. When we get onto the brakes, we create load, and if we can keep that braking load to the direction change, that's our goal. So we want to feel that feedback as we brake and through the direction change. The moment we get on the throttle, we release that load. So this one is going to be purely patience, and you can almost always pass a rider off the inside. So my goal is to never pass a rider on the outside. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, but it's definitely the most dangerous way to pass. If we can overtake somebody on the inside, we're in control. If we overtake them on the outside, they're in control. And so if, for example, the track's kind of narrow, and let's say a rider does a good job in front of me and comes off right at the hay bale, how am I gonna pass him on the straightaway? I'm running out of power. The answer is that the next lap I would start my straightaway a little sooner. So if let's say the rider is doing a good job in front of me and getting the bike turned here, but their straightaway is starting here, which is pretty ideal. Start your straightaway back here. Get the bike turned before they are, getting it turned, and then get your straightaway started, and you will run by them on the straightaway. So I say, overtake on the inside, and remember, like,
put yourself in a position where you can just hopefully get on the throttle before them.
Yeah, and leave room for growth. Here's one of probably my favorite stories to share, which is racing with Troy Bayless, and I've ridden with riders that do the same thing every lap, and you can they're clockwork. And then I've ridden with riders like Troy that, as long as he's on the racetrack, he's racing, and guess what? He's also faster than me. And so, and you're like, this is impossible. Like, I'm doing everything perfect, and I'm right by the cone, and meanwhile, Troy's out here in the grass one lap, and the next lap he's over there, but he's riding the bike to the limits. He has all this room for growth, and most of us are just too locked into what this cone's telling us to do. Don't listen to the cone. Ideally, I want you to experiment with this section of racetrack because it needs growth. If you're just locked into this cone, then I'm getting there and I'm doing what I think is right, but what if I could have carried a mile an hour more back there? I wouldn't know it. But if I'm out here and I'm going, oh shit, stop bike, that's what I want. Because then it's like, okay, I did everything I could to get the bike stopped, and I can always gas it. I can always chop the throttle a little sooner. But how many of us think we can leave the throttle on longer? Typically not too many. So the goal for growth is to see, can I encourage myself to leave the throttle longer, elongate that straightaway?
And I've heard people say just blow the corner.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. Just blow the corner and get on the throttle when it makes the most sense to get out of the corner.
That is on point. Yeah. I mean, obviously you gotta recognize which turn you're blowing.
Sure.
But some tracks like Fontana,
because turning in early is just really gonna hurt you always. But if
Right.
you can blow the corner and put yourself where there's more track to open it up.
that's a good one. Yeah, and you have to recognize the track. Like at Willow Springs, you don't want to mess with the desert out there. Like, it'll eat you alive. But at Fontana, you can blow almost every turn on that racetrack, and there's miles more of asphalt. So it's a great place for growth. So know what you're asking. Okay, left. Let's do it.
Bikes out there.
after your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Here, hopefully teach you from doing this. And in higher consequences, if we do this here, we can usually get away with it. We don't get too many opportunities on the road racetrack to do this and not destroy a motorcycle and walk away from it. So look at his marks. The goal, again, is to get the traction change done here. The reason I moved back the tires, I want you actually on this grass and pointing straight. So get the bike turned. If you look at this set of marks, so I don't know where it began, but the throttle picks up out here because the rider said, I'm on the straightaway. I should be on the throttle. But if you haven't finished your turn, are you on the straightaway? No, right? So then there's throttle out here, and the bike's just continuing, to slide and slide and slide. It's a little off camber. It's definitely dusty and dry slick. And then you high side, right? So we can avoid this if we get the direction change done and we're faster. We want to take all of this danger zone off the racetrack. My only danger zone is really that last little bit where I'm like, if I were braking, my danger zone, my only danger zone on the whole track is how hard I can brake here, because I could potentially crash while I'm braking. Typically don't, because there's a lot of feedback when you're on the brakes. And then my only real danger zone is right here when I have maximum lean angle and off the edge of the tire. And then from here, I'm picking the bike up like I'm just driving out the turn. Like from here, I can shut off my brain if I did a good job back there. So do the work early, be patient, and don't and take your penalty. Like if we're if we're racing with a friend or another rider at a race and we mess up the turn, guess what? Like you have to take your penalty. But what we don't want to do is get aggressive and be like, okay, I messed up the turn, but I can't afford to lose time. You already lost the time. You'll make it back. Unless you crash. Then you won't make it back. So pay your penalty, go, okay, I blew it. I'll get it right the next turn. Cool. Okay, so thanks for the example. And you can see there's also an ugly mark here where somebody almost spun out. Same thing, just too aggressive on the throttle. The throttle should come in very soft and very slowly. Then it can be progressive. So right here while I'm doing my direction change, I'm 0% throttle, and then it's like I'm just feeding into it like 1, 2, 3%, and then 10%, and then 100%. Like once I get to 10, I can get to 100 pretty fast, but getting to 10% takes me a long time. A lot of riders, and I can promise that this mark right here, the rider was like straight up to 30 and then 50% on the throttle. Like we want to be slow on the throttle. All right. Okay. Let's go. Are you going back out?
Yeah, in the